Morning all, it's Phil Paton from Paton Racing Team, and this is Till and Stugolini. Today I wanted to give you a little bit of an update of what's going on with the team, but instead of doing the normal pictures and words, we thought we'd do something different and do a little bit of a video. So what we're doing today is we're going to go for a bit of a ride, and this is the one we're going to be taking. This is my 2007 Harley Road King. We'll give that a bit of a run. I'll hook up a camera and a microphone and give you guys a bit of an update. So stick around and enjoy the ride. So welcome to the driver's seat of my Harley. It's a beautiful Saturday morning, about 10 AM. I'm just negotiating a little bit of traffic around the shopping centre here. So update wise, in regards to my bike, which is the alcohol burning turbo GSX-R, we're not doing a great deal of mods to it in the off season. Basically every season the motor comes out, gets pulled apart, opened up, just to make sure nothing untoward is going on inside, and thankfully it's come out perfect, which is what we expected from, you know, with the quality engine building and the quality lubricants we use. So by way of changes to this engine, there's just going to be a stud girdle fitted to the motor, so that gives the bottom end a little bit more rigidity and sort of stiffens up the cases. And because of that, we're not going to reuse the bearings that came out of it last season. These ones, when the engine came apart, the bearings were pretty well perfect, but it would just be nice to, when we open up the motor at the end of next season, is that any wear patterns that we're looking at will be wear patterns that are occurred while there's a stud girdle in there. So it's really just helping us just to diagnose if anything funky is going on. The other thing that's happened is the crank and the gearbox have all been isotropically polished by CIC coatings, which is they look very, very nice, and they're like, when you pick them up, they're super slippery, so you have to be really careful when you handle them, because it feels like you're just going to drop them. And so I'm really excited to see how that goes, and whether that affects our shifting ability and helps us to get any smoother gear shifts out of the thing or not. So that'll be good. The other thing that's happening is an external oil pump is going on to scavenge oil out of the bottom of the turbo. The turbo is actually sitting high enough at the moment so that it can gravity feed back to the sump. But because there's an oil pipe coming out of the bottom of the turbo and into the front of the sump, it's a little bit susceptible to damage from me being a bit ham-fisted when I'm loading it on and off the trailer, or particularly getting the motor in and out. So what we're doing now is just going to an external oil pump drive, and that'll suck oil straight out of a little custom-made sump, which Brett from Pace Motorsports will make, and it'll basically suck straight out of the bottom of the turbo and into the side of the engine. So that'll get rid of that clearance issue altogether, which makes me feel a lot more comfortable. And to be honest, the work that I did on creating the little drain tube was probably not the most professional, so I'm not unhappy to see it go. So really just waiting on the bearings to come in from Suzuki, and they're on back order. They've been on back order for quite a while. We're expecting them late June, so you know, hopefully not too far soon, and then the motor can go back together and go back in the bike. Because there's no other changes, it doesn't need a dyno tune or anything like that, so pretty much get it in there, fire it up, make sure it's all healthy, give it an oil change or two, and then it's ready to rock and roll. There's a few changes happening with Chris's bike. He's got the 2006 GSX-R 1000 that's just running naturally aspirated with an extended swing arm, and this last season we played with an MTC lockup hat on the clutch so that we could use a two-step, and he was quite successful with that. It really helped improve consistency of the times, which when you're running Group 3 modified bike, that's what you really need, is to be able to run the same numbers all the time, and it worked really well. So we've decided to build on that, and we've just received a Hayes Machineworks T6 clutch, which is fully tunable, and it's sort of the bee's knees as far as I'm concerned in regards to clutches. And I've successfully run a Hayes T3 on my race bike for the last few seasons, and it's been super reliable and super consistent, although running in slider mode, which is kind of where it operates on engine RPM instead of operating on like a normal clutch, whereas we're going to be running it in lockup mode on Chris's bike, which basically means it's, you know, got a clutch lever just like normal, but it doesn't have as much static clutch pressure on it, so you can actually open the throttle full on the stop on the 2-step limiter, and then just dump the clutch, and then all this mechanical magic happens, and the thing takes off, and hopefully it doesn't take off in such a way that you smack the back of your head on the racetrack. So we're really looking forward to getting a handle on that. They are quite a there's quite a lot of tuning capability with it, so that of course means that there's plenty of opportunities for us to mess it up and not get the tune right. So we might be chasing our tails for a little while, but hopefully it'll work out in the end. Also, we managed to find a second-hand Sidewinder exhaust for the Chris's bike. So the Sidewinder allows us, it's basically a side exiting exhaust, for those who don't know, and comes out the side of the motorbike, because pretty much the exhaust system is always the lowest part of the bike. And with a Sidewinder, it just means we can get the thing lower, and which means he'll be able to launch harder because the centre of gravity is lower, without having any wheel stand issues or reducing the wheel stand issues. So along with that, because it's a different exhaust and it's more open, so then we have to go to a dyno tune, so it will need a tune up, but then that gives us the opportunity to convert it to running on race gas. So he'll be running on probably MS109 race gas, which will also allow us to make some more horsepower with it, so that'll be good. And because the Sidewinder allows us to lower the bike, so one of the things we have been chasing is dropping oil pressure on the launch with Chris's bike. So we're getting hold of a flat sump, which is basically the same type of sump as what I'm running on my bike, and that has a swinging pickup in it, so when the oil rushes to the back of the motor on the launch, the pickup follows it. So that should hopefully solve his oil pressure issues, as well as allow us to lower the bike a lot more, because the sump then stops being, after the exhaust, the sump is the lowest part of the bike. So to help us lower it, I've also got a set of lowering links coming from the States. That's from Spencer Cycles, and these are like super long ones, so that allows us to lower it down. I am a little bit concerned about what it does to the geometry of the suspension, just because it may adjust the geometry of the suspension so much that it starts to bind up. We'll see how that goes. And finally, the other thing that we'll do once that's in is I've got a Gen 2 Hayabusa shocks, a Suzuki Hayabusa, and that's a fairly common change out into GSXRs that have been extended for racing, because they're a stronger shock, so they deal with the longer swing arm, the extra leverage. So I've got one of them that I used to run on my bike before we went to wheelie bar and solid rear suspension, so that'll fit on there just nicely, and we'll probably be playing with that in the next couple of weeks, I'm hoping. So pretty excited, and I know Chris is excited, and he's already cut the bottom of his fairing off, because we're expecting the thing to get real low. So he'll be calling around with his bike tomorrow, and we'll be making some bracketry just to make sure that mounts up nicely, and the remaining parts of the fairing don't get blown all over the place, and you know, do some damage. So really that's about it as far as updates for the team goes. We're really looking forward to the next season. We're planning to go and do some rounds over in Adelaide at the beginning of the season, at the end of the season, which is all part of the national series, so we might have a bit of a tilt at that and see whether we can take home a national title. But there's plenty of bikes coming into competition bike this season, from what I understand, so we're looking for a fair bit more larger field, and hopefully that'll give us a bit more variety on the track, and it'll come out with some really good racing. And last season was some great racing, but the fields were quite small, so hopefully that'll improve. So pretty much that's it. I'm just cruising around for a little while, looking like a bit of a tool with a helmet stuck on the front of my camera, a camera stuck on the front of my helmet, and so what I'm probably going to do is make a beeline back to home, and maybe I'll change helmets and go for a bit of a ride and enjoy some of this beautiful weather, because I haven't had a ride for a week since we've been on holidays. So thanks for tuning in, and enjoy your weekend, or whatever day it might be, and stay safe and look after yourselves. Cheers. See ya.